Welcome everyone to today's Insight webinar. My name is Adam Kurtz, and I will be talking about Stratum dashboarding and some of the graphical capabilities that's now available in the latest release of Stratum 7.4. Today we'll be talking about how to get to these dashboards, how to design some of these graphs that are available within the dashboard capability using the designer. And we'll obviously show some of this in a demo, and we'll take any questions that you have. This is the Stratum Data Hub. So if you're not familiar with how Stratum works, this is a good overview of the entire application. On the right-hand side, you have different ways of getting data out of Stratum. And then on the left side are different ways of getting data into Stratum. Today, we'll be concentrating on the upper right-hand quadrant using the dashboarding capabilities within the Stratum Analytics. But as you can see, there's different ways of getting data out of Stratum. Also using different connectors that are now available for Excel and Power BI. And then on getting data in, as you well know, you can get data in using ERP traditional methods, ETL traditional methods. You can also use our ETL product called Stratum Link that has APIs into cloud-based systems. And we also have the ability to get data in using spreadsheets and master file rollups and creating virtual dimensions using Excel spreadsheets. There's a lot of flexibility here in terms of getting data in and out of Stratum. Today, we'll be talking about the Stratum dashboards and the new charts that are available in the 7.4 version of the dashboarding capability, where you'll have the ability to go in and get access to a dashboard designer and create some of the dashboards by using some of the views that are available within Stratum today. Certainly, the graphing capabilities has been upgraded in the dashboard so that you can start benefiting from some new visuals that are available within the Stratum application. Here's an example what that looks like. This is actually the home page of my demo where I've been able to construct some visuals, some graphics using our dashboarding capabilities. And as you can see, they are bar charts, pie charts are available, of course, line charting. And we'll take a look at some gauges today and how to create some of those, or tweak and configure some gauging or odometer style graphs. As I said, as I mentioned, there's the dashboard designer capability where you can go in and gain access to the designer to create, either edit current dashboards or create new ones. And the designer is actually available as a menu option under the hamburger menu in the latest release of 7.4. So this will give you access to the designer, which then gives you access within the designer to all the views that are available within Stratum, which then obviously you can tap into and start building some widgets over the views that are already available within the Stratum application. There's also this concept of a custom widget where you can actually bring in some other content from another website or maybe another cloud application that you want to bring in and make available. You can certainly do that with our custom widget, which is basically just a dashboard widget that points to another URL. So certainly that's available so that you can customize, bring in some graphics if you want, some JPEG images or whatever the case. Whatever you want to do there, you have the flexibility to do something more custom with the custom widget. Here we could see that within the dashboard designer, we're able to actually, of course, edit, like I said, and create new dashboards. This does give you, once you go into edit mode, then you will see the Stratum views populate, and then you can obviously tap into those and start dragging and dropping those into the dashboard area. Using obviously best practices here for dashboarding, you want to make sure that you provide enough content to create a story that's compelling, but not overwhelming. So certainly there's a fine line between providing too much data versus not enough. You have a jump to view button that's available that will provide the detail, so that users can always jump to the view behind the graph of that widget so that they can gain access and start drilling down into further detail. So don't think that you need to provide all that detail within the dashboard or using some of the charts, because obviously that's going to deter what the message. I think it will cloud up or maybe just go against any type of best practice that you would want when you create these charts. Obviously you just don't want something that's just too overwhelming. Then some of that gets lost in the weeds. When you're in the dashboard designer, as you can see, you can go in and into settings, and you can actually set up some of these different areas of the view within Stratum that you may or may not want to show within the widget. So as you can see, I can hide a bunch of view objects here. I can hide the view name, the view filter, the view image, the paging controls, the view icons. All of that can be hidden so that the dashboard's cleaner, with less clutter, so that obviously it's that message that you're trying to convey within that chart is much more compelling, as opposed to getting lost in some of the clutter of the view. You can then link to other URLs if you wanted to, other views for further detail, to our website, of course, or nothing at all. But you do have the ability to link to another URL from this particular widget. In 7.4, you'll see these new charts pop up when you start dragging and dropping the views over. This is what the new 7.4 charting capabilities look like when you're selecting the different chart types before you drag and drop the view over into the dashboard area. So here I can select a column versus a bar, line graph charts, pie type charts, or data grids. What those different areas mean here. As you can see, I can click in on any of those to give me a jump start into the graph or chart that I want to pursue. So obviously, now that's new, so I can then highlight the different types of charts that I want to pursue before then I drag and drop the view over, and then the chart then gets populated, and then I can go ahead and configure and customize from there. When I bring the chart over into the dashboard area, I do have the capability of editing the chart further, of course. And to do so, as you can see, there's a little pencil icon that I can go in and select that to edit this particular chart. And that allows me to go into these properties down below and select whether I want to change the chart type. I can go into that, or I can edit the data within the view and maybe just select the different pieces of data within that view that I want to base the chart on. So the view doesn't necessarily have to, just have the data that you want to chart in it. The view may have other pieces of data or other measures or columns of data that you don't necessarily want to bring into the chart. So that's something that you can control using the edit capabilities. Here, once I go into that edit mode for the data for the chart menu, I can, as you can see, then deselect the different measures that I have within that view, as you can see, and I can then just base the chart on the different columns that I want to base it on. In this case, this year and last year. This obviously limits the number of columns that the chart will render. So obviously you're not throwing all this other irrelevant, well, not necessarily irrelevant, but just for this particular purpose, you don't want to just throw all this at the chart. So it's going to be a much cleaner graphic. And then you can also limit the number of columns by selecting the different measures that you want to show within the chart. Obviously, this makes the chart much more readable, more concise. If I want to go in and change the chart type, as you can see, I can then select the different types of charts that are available within that particular chart type area. So here, being that this is column charts, as you can see, some of the column charts down below are bar chart oriented, cluster, classic column chart, and then obviously you can go in and change it to a hybrid. So you can have different types of charts, a line going through a chart, a bar chart as well. The custom widget is available, like I said before, that's all the way down, I believe, still at the bottom of the list of views. It's not really a view per se, obviously, but you can then drag and drop that into the designer, where you can then see that I can then put in this case, I've got a URL to a Power BI report. This could be a URL to basically anything that you can authenticate and hit. So again, you can put in some other dashboards here, maybe a Power BI report, another viewer view. There's all kinds of things that you could do here to make things available from the dashboard. This is how to contact me. So if you want to pursue dashboarding and you like what you see today, you can certainly contact me and we can talk further about how to get this upgraded and implemented for your site. All right, so let's take a look at some of this in action. Here's my Stratum environment. As you can see, I've got a dashboard within my home page. So this is one way to expose the dashboarding is make it your home page for certain types of groups of users out there. So in my particular scenario, I've got a dashboard here showing me at the divisional level what my sales are for this year versus last. As you can see in the blue, I can see what my year-to-date numbers are as I hover over these different chart items. It then tells me what these numbers are, and obviously I can then see what the differences are by strictly hovering over these different chart types. I can do the same thing over here for my open AR. Obviously, I can see Wilder Foods here coming in at roughly around 29%. There's the other division, so they owe us the most money in terms of AR. We can see that Harrington's is coming in as a third, Good Foods, so on and so forth. I can then go into some of these smaller ones and it will actually tell me what they are. So quite nice in terms of how that renders out. If I want to go to the data behind any one of these charts and do more drill downs to see the detail behind some of this, I can then go into the upper right hand corner of the chart item, and then I can go in and open the view in a new tab. This will then render the view behind the chart, where then I can then pursue the data. The chart was actually charting these two columns over here, and then I can do my drill downs as I see fit. Now I'm getting access to a lot more data, where obviously, you might have up to hundreds, if not thousands of rows of detail behind some of these drill downs that you can gain access to very easily by jumping to the view behind that particular chart. As I close that particular view down, as you can see, I can then jump right back to the other charts. Down below, I have a year-to-date sales trend for my different divisions. And I'm using a view that has using time as a dimension. So if I open this up to this view behind this particular chart, I can see that this particular view is using time as a dimension. So as you can see, then I can chart that by using line graphing to show the year-to-date amounts here for my different divisions in comparison. Obviously, as I can see both in the data and the charting, that the the grocery division is dominating the sales here for this particular company. So it's excellent, in terms of how you can do that. If I then wanted to drill that down even further and see what my weeks are for a given time frame, I can then drill down to the weekly level. You may not want to include that type of detail in your charting. I think the monthly level tells a good story. It shows me seasonality. I can see that August is a very strong month for me. Then I can see behind the detail behind the data if I wanted to see August weekly numbers, then I can go in and see what the biggest weeks are and some of the discrepancies there between the two divisions. So very usable. I can then pop in and out of the chart items and into the views, and I can navigate that quite easily. Furthermore down is just kind of more chart types. As you can see, a bar chart. I can then put in my gauges if I wanted to see a margin gauge and see what the margins are for my different divisions. A lot of different types of chart options are available that will get you going. Now, how do I get to the dashboard designer? So how do maybe I want to edit some of this, maybe I want to take some of this out. I can gain access to the designer by coming up to my hamburger menu here in the upper right hand corner. And as I come down to manage things, I can see that there's a few options here. Me being a security administrator, I have access to many different things. As you can see, the admin utilities menu has been moved over to the hamburger menu, and I can go in and gain access to all the admin utilities that are available within the manage things menu option, including the dashboard's interface. So that then opens up the dashboard interface. Now, obviously not everybody will have access to this. Only security administrators will have access to the dashboard designer. And so you can make access to this to certain types of users by giving them the URL to the dashboard designer. So, or making a link to it for certain users so they can get in and make that available for certain power users that you may not want to deem security administrators or viewer administrators. So now I'm in the designer. I can see that I've got some dashboards here designed. Some are old, some are new. I'm going to go into my new one, the one that we were looking at today in my home page. And so now I can see that the dashboard then renders in my designer. And then I can go into an edit mode and start making my changes and taking away or adding some things to my dashboard. Overall, my best practices here are good. I'm not showing too much detail. I'm just showing enough. Plus, I'm giving them a way to get to that detail by jumping them to the view behind these graphs. Let's go into edit mode. This will allow us then to make changes to this particular dashboard that we're in. So now that the dashboard is rendered in edit mode, I can then go in and see all the different views that are available to me. And then I can start adding in additional charts, graphs, etc. Exactly what I want to add in. I now have access to the different views that are available within Stratum. So these views will serve as the data, behind these charts. If I want to select a specific column chart, I can come over here to the bar chart area, maybe select one of those. The line graphing charts are available. So it depends on which chart type I click on, it will allow me then to then select the view and drag and drop that over. And this is a data grid. So if you just want to show the data in a data grid fashion, then you can select those as well. I actually have one right here. This is what the data grid would look like. And as you drag and drop that over, I can actually go into this and I can delete it. So as you can see, these upper right hand options are available. Once I click in on the different areas, such as the settings, I can go to open in a new tab. I can refresh the data for this particular item. For this one, I'm just going to delete it. There are no graphical settings here like you see over here in this other widget. Given the fact that this is just a data grid, really all you can do is kind of go into settings and clean it up. Now we saw this earlier where we can go in, maybe I don't want to show the view filter, maybe I don't want to show the paging icons. So I can limit what I show here by deselecting or selecting what I want to show from the view within this particular widget. So I can take away some of these items. I just got rid of the view name. I can get rid of some other things as well by going in and out. Show the view filter. So if I want to bring the name back into the title area, I can bring that back in as well. Bring the paging back in so that they can page through some of that as well. So if you want to bring some of that in, play with it a little bit, see what it looks like. As you can see now, the view name's available. I've got my paging icons, and then I've also got the view filter that's available here. The view filter has nothing in it, so I could probably go in and say, well, given the fact that there's really nothing there, let's get rid of it. We don't need to show it. So clean it up, right? And as you can see, then I can then do drill downs within the data grid. So that's available. So you might want to size this accordingly, depending on how you render this. You know, some people have the screens today are rather huge. So I know that you've got a fair amount of real estate for most of your users. So it might behoove you to work on a system that's similar to what your users have. I know it's hard these days, we're working from home and whatnot, but you know, if you really want to see how this is rendered, use the screen that you think your users are using, and then you can fill in the real estate as needed. How do I, so let's, obviously I'm going to go ahead and delete this out. So that's a way to get rid of some of the widgets that you have within your dashboard if you want to clean some of this up. Some of it's a bit redundant, obviously. So if I want to get rid of the redundancies, then I can go in and clean some of that up. Adding new ones in, if I want to go ahead and bring back in the data grid or the chart for that matter, it all depends on what you want to do, right? And that can go into my favorites of the different views that I have available, and then select the view that I want to bring into my dashboard area. I can go into any one of these different view groups that are available to me. I'll select comparative sales, and I'll drag and drop that over here to the left-hand side. So initially pretty ugly, probably violating all of our best practices in terms of what we're graphing and what we're showing here. If I was a user, I wouldn't know where to begin. So let's start cleaning that up. So if I wanted to clean some of this up, obviously I can then go into my edit screen and start really cleaning some of this up. Obviously we're charting way too much here. So here are those edit data, the chart data and the chart types. If I want to go in and change the chart type on the fly, I can change it to from a bar. It will then render what it would look like if you were to change the different types of charts. You even have subsetted types of charts as well. So if you want to do like a stacking versus a comparison, like if I go down to my pies, I can see all the different pie charts that I can go into. There is mapping available, so you can actually map geo data, zip code, related state, city level data, and so on and so forth. So there's quite a bit here that you see that's under the hood, if you will. So that's the different chart type, and then taking that a step further, guys, you can even customize the title of the chart, the legend, the axes. It gets quite deep in terms of what you can do here. So, that's the chart type. If I don't want to change that per se, I can go and change the data, which is definitely something we want to change here. So here it then exposes all the different measures that are available within my view. And as I deselect some of these just to clean it up quite a bit, I can then go in and select the ones, leave selected the ones that I want to chart. So in this case, I'm just deselecting everything except for this year and last year's sales. Another thing you can do is build a view. This is one of our views that's based, one of our pre-built views. You can always build a custom view if you want to, and that will obviously restrict or limit the amount of objects that you have within the view that you need to manage. So up to you. I'm gonna go ahead and click OK, and we're looking much better, already just by getting rid of some of the clutter, right, and getting rid of that is available now, so that it's much more readable. I can then see divisions quite clearly here between this year and last year, and so yeah, that looks a lot better, and I can close that out now. So that then renders. If I wanted to stretch this out, I could stretch it out a little bit, but it seems to not need the space per se. Although you can, once you do stretch it out and you refresh it, I can stretch it all the way out and refresh, and it will then take advantage of that that real estate that you give it. If I want to bring in a data grid item, similarly, I could do the same thing here, but with a data grid actually. So if I wanted to come in and make that available, so now I've got my data grid back, and it just renders the data as you see fit within the actual data grid of the view. So that's quite simple. And then I can go back into settings and play around with those, get rid of some things that we don't need per se, and then clean up the grid itself. So here we've got the odometer style of view showing the margin analysis for my two different divisions here. Overall, not much of a difference in terms of margin analysis. And that's because it's demo data, it's fake, right? Your story might be quite different. You might have a division that's way more profitable than your other divisions. So this might bode well for you and show you some fantastic things here. I can also go in here, and as I tweak this particular visual, it allows me to edit the, of course I can change the chart type, we know that, but when I go in to edit the data, it allows me to do the same things here as well, right? So I can go in and select the data that I want to make available for the odometer chart here. In customize, as you can see, I can then set a min and max value number based on my gross margin, and I set the limits. So if I want to set my colored ranges here, maybe want to play around with the tolerance levels here, I can do that. If I want to make my cautionary area a little bit bigger, I can do that, and it will then render that immediately as I play around with these numbers here. So, if you want to play around with your ranges here, not a problem. You can then customize your ranges as you see fit to fit the criteria of, what's cautionary versus what's acceptable. Something might be a little bit more acceptable along these ranges here. So, you can do that. Well, that should be a 0.5, of course. I'm dealing with decimals because, of course, the gross margin is calculated and represented as a percentage here. So yeah, I mean, if I wanted to make the cautionary area a little bit more smaller, yeah, I could do that too, right? So I can play around with that and get what I want out of my odometer style charts. If I look at the data behind that chart, I can see that this is the data that I would need to have to create this. It's quite simple. This particular view, I actually create, as you can see, it's very simple. So you can make it something as simple as this, where then the users then could go in and do their drill downs rather easily, and then go back into the visual as they see fit. So yeah, a lot of different types of things that are available here. As I right-click my dashboard over here, if I stop editing, I can then save this. That actually saves it. So that basically, and you can create a new dashboard using the active one as your starting point. So that's basically what this button does over here. So if you need a springboard, maybe there's some, you want to start with this one and then append to it for maybe a different group of users, then you can get a pretty good jump start by using the create a new dashboard using the active one as your starting point there. So another thing I can do here is open in a new tab, so I can then kind of see the dashboard in all of its glory. And this is what it would look like in full rendered display resolution. And so another thing this allows you to do is to copy the URL, and I can copy and then paste that into, in this case, to make it available here, I go into my application menu, and I make that available as my global homepage. So that's one way to make it available. If you don't want to make it global for everyone, then you can go into manage things into your user profile groups, and you can manage, and you can put it there, so that if you want to override the home page for this group of users, then you can put another dashboard here for sales oriented folks or finance or supply chain folks. They might have obviously different things that they want to look at. versus sales, and other departments within your enterprise. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to open this up for any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions or comments. Stratum dashboarding and graphing, brand new, 7.4. Any questions?
Hey, I have just one quick question. Could you walk over again how to get into the dashboard view or how to add other users to this view?
Yeah, so basically adding a user would be, if you would make that while you're in the designer, when you right click and you open in a new tab, that basically opens the dashboard. It also exposes in a new tab, obviously, in whatever browser you're using. Here's the URL to that dashboard. I can then copy that and then make that available as a home page here. So if I go into admin utilities, into manage things, here I can see that I can then add it to a group of folks, where I can say that for this group of people, I want to override the home page to a completely different dashboard that might have a different dashboard ID, such as whatever it is that you copy from that dashboard that you're working in. So now this group of people actually have a different dashboard versus what's on the global home page. If I look at the application menu, I can see that the global home page is looking at dashboard ID number 27. So everybody else, except for that group of folks, they would see their own dashboard versus everyone else who would actually see this. Or you can get rid of this completely and you can just assign dashboards at the user group level, and you can deem who gets access. So this might be your supply chain group. They have access to dashboard number 1 versus my other groups who might, like my sales group, might get access to dashboard number 2, depending on how many dashboards you've created. So all these users, when they log in, they'll see dashboard number 2 versus the other group that I assigned to dashboard number 1. When they log in, the home page will render up dashboard number 1. So that's how you would add. You don't really add people per se. I guess you do. I mean, you really kind of add the dashboard to the groups of people. It's a little backward, but it's kind of the same concept.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And this is recorded, so make sure you check it out on YouTube. You'll get you should get an email when it's ready. If you don't, let me know. I'll give you the URL, and you can always come back and check this out in the recorded version. So, good question. This is brand new right away. So if you don't have it, you probably don't. Don't freak out. You do have, if you're up on maintenance, you have access to this. This does not require any new licensing. So this is pretty exciting, and something that you can take advantage of pretty quickly once we get you upgraded to it. And the upgrade, if you're on a 7X version, the upgrade is not a big deal. So this is something that we can get done pretty quickly for you. You can do it yourself if you'd like. Either way, it's that simple that we can help you either way. If you don't have time or resources, certainly you can hire for our services, and we can certainly get it done for you.